Namibia Votes 2024. Follow along as Cosmos 94.1 speak to various political parties and presidential candidates to find out what their position is on various political issues and social issues in the country as well as environmental issues. My name is Hewat Beukes and I will be taking you through this interesting series as we will be uncovering what our parties stand for and the presidential candidates stand for and who you should vote for 27 November. Good day, viewers. Today we'll be speaking to Mr. Hewat Beukes, the political secretary of the Workers' Party. Mr. Beukes, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So how are you feeling about the political campaigns and everything that's going on so far?
Yeah, the country has enormous problems, and it is not a pleasurable job, but we have to do it. And that is why I'm actually sitting here today too.
Yes, we need brave people to address the political issues of the country or the social issues. So, Mr. Beukes, we're going to start right off with the first question. With the increasing poverty levels in the country, what are the approaches that the Workers' Party will be taking to alleviate these problems in our country?
Yeah, the problems are complex, and we are working with groups on their problems, their demands for the things that are wrong in the country, and we work on a daily basis. That is what we are taking into the election also.
Yeah.
The reason why we are taking part in the election is to highlight the actual problems, the real problems of the people. Now, your first question is, with the increasing poverty in the country, what are the approaches you will take to address the problem at its root causes and find sustainable solutions? The first and main problem is the political setup.
Yeah.
And but the basic problem that Namibians face is because this society is not organized, and that is our concern. We work around organizing the community at all levels and on each issue, because that is the only way that you can address the problems. As you know, the political problems that beset this nation and which causes massive unemployment and a derogation of the social and material infrastructure of this country is corruption.
Yeah.
And extreme backwardness.
Okay. So you recently released your manifesto as well. Can you perhaps just highlight the main focus areas of the manifesto? And yeah, that is the question.
Yeah, I've given you a written manifesto. The problem is that Namibia has what we call a comprador state. That is when you have what they, in simple terms, call a puppet state that are agents of foreign interests,
Yes.
foreign capitalist interests that exploit the country. And they actually maintain this decadent government in place. And this comprador state is there to serve not the interest of the nation, but to serve the interest of foreign interests, and to line their own pockets with bribery, as you know. That is the main threat of the manifesto. But the true problem is that in any developed democratic society, the society is organized.
Yes.
Because without organization, it can't address. It's organized on education, it's organized on on the economy, it's organized in unions, it's organized in interest groups. But unfortunately, the situation is still that Namibia is at a very low level of development in that respect. And you have a so-called opposition, which is prey to that backwardness. They are tribalists, they are just about everything, and they, like the so-called ruling party, they are there to line their own pockets.
All right. So, what are the key problems? You mentioned that it's the corruption that is one of the problems. How would the Workers' Party address these problems?
As I've said, we organize we assist the working class to organize itself. At the moment, we have a case at the ILO for the destruction, against the destruction of the fishing resources
Yeah.
and the destruction of jobs. And it is being heard. We are at the moment in talks with it. The ILO accepted the complaints of the fishermen, and we are at the moment in discussion with the government to try and settle the matter. If they do not settle the matter will fall back to the ILO and will be investigated. And if fundamental rights are violated, it will go to the International Court of Justice.
Yes. All right. Perfect. So, what are the main structural problems that the Workers' Party has identified in the country?
Again, the main structural problems is, as I said, the first part is the lack of organization, proper organization. There are unions, potentially very powerful unions, but they have an agent leadership
Yes.
that is as corrupt as the ruling party, and they are working against the interest of the workers. That is your problem. And because they are not there to enhance the organization of the Namibian people, they work towards the alienation of resources, the extraction of resources by China, by Western powers, and so on. And that is one of the reasons why there is such a large unemployment in this country.
Okay. And in terms of the rural areas and the fourth industrial revolution, how would you address the rural empowerment of the rural people?
Yeah, okay. The first thing I must mention is that we do not really consider it an apt description,
Yes.
the fourth industrial revolution. The industrial revolution was a technical revolution that drew in vast masses of rural peasants into the production process. It created jobs. This, what they say is the fourth industrial revolution, is a development of computerized systems, which displaces workers and which actually impoverishes workers. So I'm not so certain if it is the correct terminology, but that's a question of economic theory. So,
Yes.
but for the moment, let's say the technology should free people, not shackle them. Now, we've got enough technology to create adequate water resources in the rural areas, to create jobs for rural workers, and to develop, but that would mean that you have to develop proper education. And as you know, we destroy education in this country. So technology develops, but the human factor is destroyed.
Yes. So how would you address these issues?
Well, what we first, when we come to education, we are also working with the Namibia Educational Crisis Committee
Okay.
to mobilize the community in addressing this destruction of education. As you know, we've got a situation in which the minister and the president blame the teachers for the destruction of education. Now, you cannot, the person who's responsible for education is blaming his employees for the problem. It's
Yeah.
bad management, it's bad systems. There is no education. The education that we had before independence is massively better than the education that we have now. People can't multiply. In our times, we could multiply. We knew Shakespeare. We knew poetry. We knew literature. These days, they don't. They've taken literature and poetry out of the school system.
Yeah.
Children can't multiply 3 times 8. They'll tell you it's 96. While we in primary school already could recite the 12 times table randomly and systematically.
Yeah. And then when we come to the youth unemployment that remains a critical issue in the country, is there anything that the Workers' Party is currently doing to alleviate these issues and to help the communities?
What we say is the country is, this is actually a tragedy beyond bounds. You know that we've got massive reserves of oil that were found. I knew already since 1968 that this country had oil. But I won't bore you with the details, but nevertheless, I knew about it. We're told by engineers who worked on the sites. But, and you've got gold, you've got lithium, massive amounts of lithium, you have tantalite, you have diamonds, etc. And this is the second most sparsely populated area in the world.
Yes.
But we can't create jobs for our children. Do you think it makes sense? Diamonds are polished in India, and we have nothing.
Yeah.
The so-called oil exploration is already set out for corrupt elements in the far north of this country. This is what's happening here. So the point is, the moment you start to address corruption seriously, you will already create quite a number of jobs. Then you must develop a policy, an industrial policy, which is geared to create value on Namibian products that you export. Whether it is preliminary preparation or so, or whether it's a full-scale manufacturing of the raw materials that you get here. But I'm certain that while it'll take time to develop a full-scale industrial complex, being able to use up all the raw materials, but there's already enormous scope to develop industries that can create jobs for the youth.
Yeah. So by communicating with the community members and working with them, is there anything that the Workers' Party is doing for the youth to alleviate youth unemployment?
The first thing we've been involved in, even before independence, was what we call resistance education. That's a high quality education in mathematics and science. That process, the science and mathematics program, is still continuing with enormous results. Unfortunately, it's limited to less than 100 kids per year at this juncture. But those are the things that we create. We were the first to introduce computer programming. I'm not saying computer aided We use a computer to analyze mathematical algorithms, etc.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are not well publicized in this country. Nobody wants to. You are the first that
Reached out.
really invite us. So, but we can fix education if if the community stands up and demand proper education for their kids, which they will have to, because we are turning into a pariah nation. Total destruction of education. If the parents get up, if the society gets up and protect the children against de-education that is now getting on because of corruption, because they outsource education to for bribery purposes, and that is why the education system is totally collapsing. If they stand up and let their kids be properly educated, that will be one step that will have to be taken to create the necessary skills and jobs.
Okay. So I also just wanted to find out from you, what is the root causes of GBV, alcohol abuse, and child abuse, of course, and how will the Workers' Party address these issues?
Okay, those are not things that you can entirely blame on the incumbent regime, but on I'm not a psychologist, and I can't give you definite answers on these things. But if you look at them from an empirical standpoint, what we observe is that it's related to parents beating their children, uh, authoritarian upbringing without the necessary respect for a child.
Yeah.
Um, the desperation of an abusive economic system, because if you leave people unemployed and hungry, and look, the situation has now arisen, it's no longer a race question as it was before. It's going to everybody. Poverty is affecting masses of people. And that is an abuse. To keep a person hungry in the face of, this is a country that is a net exporter of food until fish rot came and they destroyed the fishing resources. But people go hungry. Walvis Bay and Luderitz kids have to scratch for food on the dump areas where there's enormous amounts of fish and sea products. This is the tragedy of this country, like around the world, these unnecessary things. Now, if you take such violence and psychotic behavior, I don't think one can have an argument that it is because of abusive circumstances, and it starts at childhood.
Yeah. And what would you say would be the best way to address these issues? How do you dismantle
My
these
personal
beliefs?
experience and my personal opinion is, okay, parents have different views. People think they read the Bible as if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. They understand that as beating the hell out of children. I do not understand it that way. I think the rod was something that you taught people with, children with. So it might mean that, but whether the biblical people say it or not, religion, unquestioning religion is part of the problem. And these fixed ideas of that you must abuse a child to bring him up is a contradiction in terms. A person that must be able to face the outside world must grow up with the necessary self-confidence. And how do you get that self-confidence. If you make that person believe in himself, he has an opinion, and that must start at very young.
Yeah.
And because he has a opinion contrary to your own does not mean you must kick the hell out of him.
Yes, thank you so much. And then when it comes to the LGBTQ issues and abortion, what is the Workers' Party stance on that?
There's misunderstanding about abortion. Let me first. People think that because a person says women have the right to abort, it means that you say they must abort, and that it is that you encourage abortion. That's not the idea. What we say is that a person has the freedom. It's only the woman that can decide. Am I going to put this child through hell in bringing him into this world? Or is it better for me to abort this child? Do I have the psychological, and there are a number of things. Do I have the psychological makeup to bring this child properly? These are things that only the woman who bears the child can make decision. So personally, I would not decide on an abortion. I think my wife wouldn't be able to decide on an abortion. I don't know, but the point is that it is a woman's innate right to decide whether to abort a pregnancy.
Yeah.
And because it's got nothing to do with anybody. People must mind their own business, that fellow from America said, and I don't know why they mind other people's business. Since when
Yeah.
are they gods or judges or anything like that? That is our opinion. So the question of abortion is a personal, intimate decision, and a person will have to think about the possible consequences, psychological consequences, but that is only for the person who decides on abortion or not to take.
Yeah. And then the LGBTQ plus issue?
Again, this is a historical problem. As you get classes in society that exploits and parasite on others, they also tend to decide morality for others. And whenever you have a society where one person decides morality for another, then you have an oppressive society, and it's exploitative, materially exploitative. You'll have workers and servants, slaves and masters. That is when people decide morality for another. Now, one of the most important democratic rights that a person has is privacy, his intimacy.
Yeah.
Is his own business. What he wants to do with his body, what he wants to do with himself, and so on, whom he wants to love, etc. It's obviously it's a decision, and you cannot say what is it? The body functions. What do they call it? The physiology of the body is something that another person can't decide. You yourself can't decide. The fact that I'm a man was not my decision.
Yeah.
And the fact that you are a woman is not your decision. Now, what if you have a body that is in between? It's not your decision. And it's not for somebody else to make a moral issue about it. And then it is not your business to tell one person whom that person should love.
Thank you so much. And when it comes to the increasing reported cases, or not cases, but the increasing problem of climate change, How do you plan to address the issue of climate change in Namibia?
Namibia is, how shall I say, is a cigarette puff in the cloud of smoke.
Yeah.
There's not much we can do about it. But on the issue of climate change, that is because of the economic interest of very few people, financial interest, not economic, financial interest of a very few parasitic group of people, the billionaires and the millionaires of this world, that would not, they prefer their personal interest against the interest of the world. Because climate change is definitely, if it hasn't dawned on people that climate change is threatening the very existence of this world, then I don't know when it will dawn on them. Perhaps only when the world is starting to sink. Because you must know that weather changes can be, if once they get out of hand, they might spiral into a total catastrophe that's going to threaten life on Earth, that might threaten life on Earth. And that is one reason why the world society should be organized to be able to protect themselves
Yeah.
from the few.
Okay, and then another, I would say, environmental issue, which is a big issue in Namibia, the veterinary cordon fence. Should it stay? Should it go away? What is your opinion on that?
The what?
The veterinary cordon fence, the red line.
No, why should it? If there are scientific reasons for it to remain, then it should remain. I know that the north of the red line, people have not kept the same austere measures required for good meat production. You know, this world, Namibia is producing the best meat in the world.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, but because of the grazing down south, but also of the strict adherence to scientific principles by the farmers
Yes.
in this area. And keeping, for mostly taking very stern measures against things like foot and mouth and so on.
Okay.
So you don't destroy simply because we are already sending a lot of money down north for a few. Now they want to bring in contaminated meat here also. It's not business,
Yeah.
bad business.
What do you think about that interview? Comment down below and let us know who you will be voting for. Don't forget to follow along as we unpack all the social issues, environmental issues, and all the issues that is important to you. Now, Namibia, let's go vote 27 November 2024.